This podcast is a chance for me to sit down with so many great people that I've met over the years and get to know them better. I get to ask them a lot of questions about what they do, both for work, what they do personally, and maybe learn a few life lessons along the way. It's a really fun sort of coffee conversation, and I'm hoping you'll grab a cup of coffee and join me. I am here with good friend Noelle Spagna. She has been someone that I've worked with for a really long time, and she is part of the Motley Fool, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. She hails from Scranton, PA, and she is a self-proclaimed Swiftie, and we'll probably get into that as well. So again, welcome to Noelle. Hey, thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much, Sean. I'm pleasure to be here.
Why don't we start with tell me a little bit about your journey. I didn't mention in the beginning, but you manage affiliate for the Motley Fool.
Yes.
So I'm personally really curious. How did you decide to go into this space? Did you start a media and then go into affiliate, or did you just kind of get right into kind of the affiliate space out of school?
I started, more so in local companies doing more traditional marketing and advertising. In terms of I was in a nonprofit right after college. So, newspapers and TV and billboards and whatnot. I was in, I bounced around to a few different companies, but then I got recruited it was eBay Enterprise at the time. Now, then it became Pepper Jam, and now it's Partnerize. So they've had a lot of different name changes, but it was at the time owned by eBay. And I was brought in as an account manager there. I had never done affiliate marketing before. And, with no unique affiliate background, kind of jumping in without that, I learned kind of everything all at once,
Yep.
Most agencies at least divide up the roles, between different tasks, kind of more like this person doing the data, this person doing the recruitment. I kind of did everything because that's just the way it was back then. And I'm grateful for that because when you kind of get thrown into it, you learn so much so fast.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, I became, as good at it as I was, because I had to learn really quickly and kind of just jump in and take as much on as possible.
Sometimes I think that's really interesting when you work you didn't work for a small company, but when you work for a company where you're given a lot of responsibilities, right? It's a chance for you to jump in with both feet and learn a lot and figure out what you like and you don't like. And sometimes I know when I started out and you're at larger companies, I guess you're sort of siphoned off into a very specific area, and sometimes it doesn't give you that exposure that you want. So that's really cool that you were able to do that. That's great. We'll get a bit more into the affiliate, but or maybe we can talk about it now. So I remember Pepper Jam and Partnerize, and I know sort of how affiliate has changed over the years, even just being part of Rotary now for the last 7 years, how much it's changed, especially when I started with Cool Material. But what's just off the top of your head, what are some of the biggest changes now in terms of affiliates since you've been doing this for a while?
It's an interesting industry. I think there's a lot of things about affiliate that are always very consistent. It's a very relationship-driven channel. It's very, about making those connections, networking, getting to know the people within your industry. I think just being able to get out there, especially at the conferences and the events, and being able to really network and make those connections. I don't think, just learning from the other marketing channels and the other channel managers here, no one else really kind of has that kind of connection-based portion.
Yeah.
If you're just managing social media or Google or whatnot.
Right.
So that's probably been the most consistent. But the most changes I would just say is just more so looking at, I think, attribution and looking at the data to tell the story. I think in the beginning it was just kind of a lot of brands were just put in whatever partners and they really wanted just the volume. And now it's kind of well, how do we value certain types of customers or certain types of partnerships, and what value is that customer bringing in, and where are they in the click path in terms of
Right.
whether it's first and last, or how many partners or marketing channels were involved. And I think it's just kind of looking more into the data overall and being able to kind of tighten up and make things as efficient as possible, and then kind of working with your partners to be more efficient, but then also making sure the relationship is beneficial for both you and them.
Has it changed a lot since COVID? Meaning, you talk about your role being a relationship role. and you go to these summits, right? And I'm sure you meet a lot of people there. Is that really how you approached it all this while, or did it change? Meaning, like, from a sales standpoint, or when I started, it was more about a lot more face to face meetings, and it was about more one to one. And then that kind of shifted a little bit to more obviously email based for us after COVID, and it really kind of amplified it. But how has it changed for you since that time to now in terms of your ability to build relationships?
Back when I was at Pepper Jam, we used to always do Affiliate Summit East, which is in New York City. And it was easy because coming from, Northeast Pennsylvania area, we would just send a bunch of team members and just go to that conference and meet our clients and partners. And I learned very quickly that that's very, very valuable, because when you're sitting in front of a partner, you're not just an email address anymore. You're a person,
Yeah.
and you can really negotiate and build that relationship and kind of get the
Yeah.
most out of it. And then COVID hit, and obviously travel was just done. The events were done. Everything was kind of more virtual. So the Fool hadn't really done things like that before, because I'm the first in-house affiliate manager that the company has had. So when the opportunity came up last year to start doing the conferences, and we kind of opened it up, I put in for the first, it was ASW last year, and just had a really amazing experience, and met so many partners. I had 30 meetings over like the 2.5 days.
Wow.
And
Okay.
yeah, just constantly, meeting new people, and then you're networking in between the meetings and after hours and things like that. So it's a really great way to just, again, build the existing partner relationships and strengthen them, but to also meet new partners and bring them into the fold.
Yeah, it's similar to ours, right? I mean, there's so much value in being in front of people. It's harder for us. It's maybe the way that we built our business, but yeah, for sure. I mean, I was just in Austin, Texas last week, and just sitting down with partners that you have, it could take that, those relationships to a totally different level, totally different direction. So I totally agree. So that's great. So Motley, so it's a premium tool for financial guidance. Like, how do you kind of position yourself and differentiate yourself from others out there that offer similar kind of advice? Like, where do you kind of put your stake in the ground when it comes to the Motley?
So Motley, really, I would say, became more well known around 2002. That's when Stock Advisor was founded, and that's when they started doing some of the initial early picks, like Amazon, and they predicted that when it was like 19 cents a share.
Wow.
So the track record is really what we kind of lean in on the most, because when you become a member, you get all that history. We give you every single pick that we've made since 2002, and then you can also see the performance since then, and how many, how percent on the return and whatnot.
Yeah.
Another thing we value is the fact that we actually do have, human analysts here that are doing the research and actually making the picks. And, we lean into AI a lot with new tools and things like that, but we also will always have like that human component too, picking things. And the other thing is we have this motto of making the world smarter, happier, and richer. And it's to encourage more people to be able to take control of their finances, and to show people that you too can have your own stock portfolio. You don't need, to go out and maybe pay a financial advisor right off the bat, or have like the 6-figure portfolio right away. You can build it up, and we can help you do that by showing you which stocks to pick and which ones you should have in your portfolio, and how to get that started and really self-manage it. And I started doing that, once I became an employee here. And I will say, like, it's been very beneficial, and it's not as hard as you think it is.
I think that's really true. I think most people don't realize it's not as hard as you think it is. It's not a 24/7 job, right? It's, setting the right choices and then letting them grow. And I think that's a really smart thing. The idea that you can give them just enough confidence and information to be able to make those choices on their own, and just educate people out there for that. And I think you're totally right. There's so many people that just feel intimidated by it because they don't have that background, whatever that background has to be. But everybody can learn. So I totally agree. I can't believe Amazon at 19 cents. Can you imagine if we all got a piece of that? Holy cow. That would be like pretty crazy.
I know. Our first NVIDIA recommendation, I think NVIDIA was like $2 or something ridiculous too. So yeah.
Man, that's crazy.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. it seems like your role is in some ways similar to like a media manager's role, right? In terms of managing relationships and buying and media planning and what have you. What are some of the unique challenges you face in the job? Kind of whether it's day to day or just overall, just in terms of, trying to tackle those.
I think the biggest thing is just trying to make sure you're bringing in like the right consumer that's going to stay with us, over the long haul, because we look at the lifetime value of the customer coming in, and we kind of tie that back to whatever the partner or the channel who, drove the initial sale, brought in, so we can kind of evaluate how to, manage that partner, or where to set the commission rates or budget and whatnot. So yeah, it's just making sure that we're getting people, that we're keeping them and for the long haul, and just making sure, again, it's an education thing, right? So we're just making sure, because I think a lot of people sign up and they're not really quite sure what they signed up for. I think some people ask too, they're like, oh, are you actually like a brokerage? Or I'm like, no, you need that too to kind of manage it. We're just kind of giving you the insights and the education to go and make the purchases through whatever brokerage you pick. So I think too, that's kind of what we've kind of leaned into as well a little bit more, is just kind of, building up, like when somebody joins Stock Advisor, just making sure like they get full tutorials and that they know the dashboard, they know what they signed up for and what they're getting and how to use it. And, that they should be going in like at least weekly and checking all of the stats and looking for the new stocks, and just kind of getting them as engaged as possible.
Yep. No, that makes sense, right? Yeah. So, and encouraging them to do that, right? Mm-hmm. So that they're doing that more consistently, and then just makes them better informed for decisions. So, I totally get that. What's your day typically like? What's like a typical day? And we don't have to get too granular, but like, how do you manage it? What are the things you always have to make sure that you do each day? What's it like to sort of manage in this kind of role and manage that day?
Every day really is different. I think it just depends on, the amount of partner meetings that I have and internal meetings and just structuring all of that. But outside of actual, Zooms and things like that, it's really just getting into the network, looking at applications and reporting and how's things doing, and just making sure our placements are going live and grabbing those screenshots and setting things up with partners. And it really is partnership management. It's really talking to partners constantly, whether it is through email or on meetings, and building out the campaigns. And I try to plan mostly by quarter, especially with my largest partners, and just getting everything set up in advance. And, this is our busiest season right now. So just kind of making sure we're seeing the strong numbers coming in, and that we've optimized across the board with our top partners.
You must have a tremendous amount of people that are trying to reach out to you and get your attention and get you to respond, and it's near impossible. Like, it's just like, I know what it's like on our side. I know what it's like on your side, especially because there are so many different partners out there. Attrition's probably needed, but like, how do you manage that? Does your inbox just get overloaded on a daily basis, or like, how do you manage all of that? Because, you can't respond to everybody, right? You have to sort of figure out how best to manage all of that. Is it a big challenge, or is it not as big of a challenge as I think it is?
It's not as big of a challenge, because I have people reach out to me through the network and then directly. And then I also have people who will find me on LinkedIn. And sometimes, because what people sometimes confuse about us is we are an advertiser, but we're also a publisher. So we have a site that also promotes advertisers, and kind of on the flip side of affiliates. So sometimes I get a lot of inquiries for them as well. It's called Motley Full Money. So kind of just knowing where to funnel people. Like, is it somebody who's looking to promote us? That's me. And if it's somebody who's looking for us to promote them, that's a different team. Yeah. So just kind of filtering that in. But it's not too bad, and I think everybody kind of gets like spammy stuff. So from time to time, you kind of have to, sort through. But a lot of our applications and things like that, like I said, do come from the network, and people message me through there if it's brand new, or like I said, sometimes I'll get some, emails and connection requests through LinkedIn. But it's just kind of going through one by one and just seeing like if it's going to be, a good potential opportunity, and scheduling some time. I like to do that, like schedule a Zoom meeting or something like that with the partner right away, because just, again, establishing the relationship. And then I think that's just the best way, instead of going back and forth through email, especially with a new partner. It's just better to have that conversation right off the bat, so you know exactly what they're looking for and what they can do for you, and vice versa.
Yeah, I always say 100% that I'm almost surprised, but I'm so like happily surprised when a potential partner is willing to have a call with me because it will eliminate so much back and forth. And it's I think sometimes they think sometimes I always wonder if they think that if they get on the phone with me that it somehow signals more interest than maybe is there. Like it's okay to get on the phone and go through what we have and then say, it's not a fit. And then I think sometimes people get, I don't know if it's apprehensive or not, but feel like if they get on the phone, it somehow feels like it's more of a potential like partnership or close rather than just sort of information gathering. So we
Yeah.
try to figure that part out too. But that's interesting. I don't know why. I always thought that um, I always thought that for you would be overwhelming. You know what I mean? Like just to get so many, you would be getting so many inquiries. Like I know on our side, even though I'm a publisher, we get so many inquiries that are just because of the way that the tools that they have now for outreach. There's so many that are just completely not relevant, and they're not taking the time to even figure that out. So I'm sure you go through that as well too. People that reach out that you're just like, this has nothing to do with my business. Why did you even email me? So I always have that kind of come up from time to time when we're doing it too.
Yeah, I have that too. I will say when I was on the agency side and I was managing like 8 different brands, then the inbox, like you'd be out of office and you'd come back to like 1,500 emails and be like, oh my goodness, this is a lot. But having one brand is a lot more streamlined.
So it's a lot more manageable. That's awesome. All right, let's like switch to I want to talk to you a little bit about like personal. So, what are some of your like daily habits that kind of impact you physically, mentally? I know for me, I'm a big exercise guy. I got to exercise first thing in the morning. I got to have my cup of coffee in the morning. I also paint every day. I do that, because I feel like that's a great way for me to kind of shut everything off. And actually, is for me at least the time that I probably come up with my most creative ideas when I'm just away from the screen for an hour or two. So that's why I really like painting for that. But for you, what are some of the things that you do on a day-to-day basis to help you?
Well, besides dealing with my needy cats,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What's the name of your cat?
this is Jax.
Jax. Okay. How many cats do you have?
Goatee.
Oh, what's up, Jax?
He's a little hipster with his little goatee.
Yeah.
I have one other one. His name is Dean. So
Jax and Dean. Very cool. Yeah, we're dog people. So I used to have cats years and years ago. Cats are the best.
There's the other one now.
There you go.
But yeah, I'm big into health and wellness as well. I think that's so important. And just even letting go of like stress and letting go of the day.
Yeah.
I started running a lot lately. I like to also I lift a lot, but I also do like Zumba. I like to dance and
oh, cool.
And doing that. But I like to spend a lot of time with my friends. I like to travel.
Good.
Music is really important, and I read a lot too.
Okay. Do you read like just fun stuff, or do you like fiction or nonfiction, or do you have like a specific style of books that you like to read?
I read both, and I normally read 2 books at a time, and I like to call it a fun book and then like a educational or
educational book, right?
Book.
Yeah. Right.
I tend to like pair them up and kind of flip back and forth. So then if I'm in the mood for one, I have that one ready to go. And
yeah, I totally get that. Do you have like an approach to that? Like I know what I try to do every day is like I try to get up in the morning and read 15 pages, right? At least I know I do it, and then I can get to other things. But are you someone that just sort of like has a certain time of the day you just read for however long you want, or do you have a certain way that you kind of tackle your reading challenges?
I usually read like when I get into bed at night, and I'll just sit there and kind of, because I love how the Kindle has like the nighttime light setting. So
yeah.
So bright. So usually sometimes on the weekends I'll try to, get some more time in where I'm actually just sitting there and reading a chapter or two, but kind of whenever I find the time to make it happen, try to at least get like a chapter a day.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So then another sort of question about relationship building, right? So we were saying that these summits are a big thing for you. Zoom calls are a big thing for you. I'm sure, I'm thinking about this for kids coming up. Like my daughter is in banking, and my other daughter, she's currently in SaaS softwares, and it's very difficult to sort of build those up. So do you, outside of your like meeting people, is that mostly just through, I know we talked a little bit about before, but is it mostly through the summits, or do you actually make a point do you get out and like travel to meet people now, or is it more over Zoom? Like, how do you sort of manage those now? You know, because used to be before COVID, right? We would probably have a lot more literally face-to-face meetings, right? And I don't know if those are happening as much anymore.
Outside of the conferences, not much. I mean, we do things internally, like where we'll go to the office and, have team meetings, or we'll do like a company meeting, a company summit like once a year. But outside, just with partners, it is mostly planned around the different conferences and whatnot. And then,
Yeah.
usually try to plan like a set meeting, or if it's a really close partner, we'll do like a dinner or a lunch outside of that too, just to kind of get some extra time in. But
Yeah.
outside of that, it's a lot of, again, like the Zoom, because everybody's in different locations now too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. But it sounds like you're really smart about it. I mean, because I'm sure when you go to these summits, you get a tremendous amount done in terms of just jumping in and seeing as many people as you can. So that probably really helps you a lot. How often do you go to them every year? How many do you go to?
usually like 3 to 4, depending.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll be in Vegas in about 2 weeks for Affiliate Summit West. So that's kind of like the kickoff one of the year.
Yeah. Do you ever speak at these? Do you ever get on panels to speak?
I am speaking at this one
Oh,
actually.
you are? Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Have you done it before?
I did one last year at PI Live, which is kind of a little bit smaller of a conference, but it's been growing. They have a UK version that's like much bigger. So their US one is only a few years old. So I did that one last year, but that's another great conference. So this is my first like affiliate summit speaking engagement.
Wow. Okay. Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I got to have the prep call last week and meet the rest of the panel. So it's very diverse. It's like 2 brands and then 2 agencies. So we kind
Oh,
of have
cool.
like a nice balance there.
Yeah. Yeah. I, I did that a couple of times early on at some of the events, but I haven't done it as much as I probably should have. But yeah, I mean, I think it's great. It's a great way for you it's great exposure for you. How big are these two? How big is the summit? Like, how many people do you expect in a room for something like this?
It's, I mean, the conference itself brings anywhere from like 6 to 7,000 people, but everybody's again doing meetings and there's different speaking engagements going on at the same time in different rooms and whatnot. So I honestly don't know what to expect for the turnout. I'm also speaking on like Wednesday afternoon, which is like the last day of the
Uh,
conference. So
yeah. Yeah.
it might start to be like thinning out at that point, but I hope that we have like a good turnout for it. And I'm excited to see what it's like and kind of how it compares.
Yeah. It's great for sure. I had another good question for you. This is again probably more for sort of people like my kids as well too. Like, how important was it for you to network and get feedback kind of early on in your career? Did you find that was really helpful to you? Did you have mentors, or did you seek out any kind of feedback? Like, I know one of the things I've told my kids is the idea that I used to encourage them to try to have a cup of coffee with like 10 people, just people inside what they may be interested in, outside what they're interested in. Because I do find that people do love to share what they do and their journeys for younger folks. And I wonder if you did the same thing coming through. Was that an important part of your growth, or was it a challenge?
When I graduated, I did have a professor in college who was gave a lot of like really great real world advice. And I kept in touch with him for a few years after graduation. And then it was kind of just people I worked with, like, people who are ahead of me or more senior. But when I got into affiliate, I will say, at Pepper Jam, my boss there, Jenna Walsh was her name, and she was just one of those people that just knew like both sides of the space, and she knew the back and the tech. Like, she was very
Oh, okay.
intelligent and knew that kind of stuff too. So she was just I always say like I am as good as what I am because I had her training
Oh,
me
that's great.
and I was
Yeah.
under her wing. So she was really great. And then I've always had great people alongside me, whether they were superiors or not, just great colleagues who you were surrounded by, and I could, hear them and share things with them and just see because, and this added to the email situation, but at Pepper Gym, we used to be in teams of maybe like 3 to 4 in like little pods. We
Yeah.
would copy each other on all of each other's clients, and we each had like anywhere from like 7 to 10 clients. So like there was just constant emails, but we got to see what everybody else was doing. So it kind of gave us a heads up and allowed us to kind of grow and be like, oh, she's trying that with this partner. Like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. I might be able to
Yeah.
do that with mine. So it opened up the doors for a lot of collaboration in that
Yeah.
sense.
Right.
And then here at the Fool, when I was at the agency side managing the program, my contact here, his name is John Keeling, and he's been with the Fool a long time. And he's kind of like, I always tell people, he's like a jack of all trades. He does a lot of different things here, wears a lot of different hats, but he's definitely been a mentor and somebody I've been able to really learn so much about the company through him, and just different facets of it. And, just kind of help build this program, alongside of him this whole time.
I think that idea of collaboration and just sort of being in the same room with others and being able to sort of absorb what they do and how they do it differently. Like I always talk about that from a painting standpoint. Like I paint quite a lot on my own, and then I always find it's super valuable not to take classes, but if I'm just in the room with someone else and we're painting the same thing, and the idea is like you can just look over and be like, wow, how did you approach that? Or how did you decide on that color? Or how did you decide to brush it that way? And I do miss that. Do you have just more of that? Do you get a lot of chance to be in the office with others in your on your team, or is it something that you really only get together when it's like a coordinated event or at these summits?
It's more so we do like 2 team retreats a year. We'll go into the office as a team, and sometimes a couple other teams are in at the same time, and then our one company retreat. But our office is going to close at the end of the year. So we won't have a physical office anymore. So they've been leaning into like liquid spaces.
Yep.
To help people in different areas kind of collaborate and get together. I don't really have any other Fools in the area that I am, so I'd have to travel either to like down to Philly or into New York City and whatnot. Yeah. So it's a little bit harder for me. It depends on where you live, but there are a lot of Fools that do get together in like, certain metropolitan areas where there is like at least, a couple of them living in the same place.
Yeah. How big is it in Philly?
Not much. I want to say maybe between 5 and 10 people, maybe.
All right. Yeah. But no space here, right? Just people that are just sort of all kind of clustered here in Philadelphia?
Yeah, it's just like I said, they'll do like the liquid space thing. So it's kind of, we have these things called sync days, and it's usually once a month where they'll encourage people to either come into an office, because we used to have one in Denver too, but that's kind of gone into the liquid space. So they'll encourage people to like actually come together and meet up in different locations.
My funny story in Denver is I used to work for a company called Mania TV. It was supposed to supplant MTV. We had like giant stages in Denver with buses, and they had VJs, and they did the shows. But I headed up sales, and I used to go out there. It was like once a month for a couple of years. And I remember when I first went, I used to go to lunch all the time at this small place that had really good Mexican food that no one knew. It was called Chipotle. And it was like literally like the first place. That's another example of like Amazon, right? Where I wish I had thought about it soon enough before they started to expand and put money in that too. It would have been amazing. But yeah, it was really funny. That was the first place it was. It was the original restaurant. We used to go there all the time.
That's crazy. And their stock is like very high as well.
Yeah. I think I was too young at the time. We bought a few shares, but like we weren't, we just didn't have the money or courageous enough to buy more. But I wish, it's just like everybody, right? You always go back and wish you did something like that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Last question. So like, what are some of your favorite resources? What are the like books, podcasts, courses, anything like that? Personally, professionally, you have a go-to podcast? You have like a favorite book for the work you're in or business that you love, or any kind of personalities that you really like? That sort of help you?
I read so many books by so many different authors. I can't even say that I have a set favorite book per se.
Yeah.
But I have read a lot of different books by a couple different authors, like Vex King. I like him. I follow him on like Instagram. He's very inspirational. There's also a podcast called The Mindset Mentor. And even if like, I don't always listen to full episodes, but you can just go on Instagram and he'll post a reel of like a short snippet. And he's very just like to the point and very just all about mindset. Like I really do believe that. I'm actually reading a book right now on holistic psychology and just about how mindset alone can change so much with your health and your well-being.
100%. Totally agree.
With what you eat and what you do with your body, and just being able to take a look at your overall health and really hone in on those, not even want to say small things, but easy things that you could do on a daily basis to improve your overall health, which, will definitely have a big effect on your mental health as well.
Oh yeah, I think it is small things. Like I think a lot of the times people think you need to make these huge changes, but you don't. If you just do small things every day, they accrue and they can make a big difference, right? You don't have to just
Mhm.
fundamentally change the way you live your life. Like just again, just doing small things, whether that's getting out and moving more or eating a little better or just deciding not to drink Coke and drink water or whatever the case may be. Just little things can really start to add up. So I totally agree with you. It's a great approach. It's a great way to think about things. It's not intimidating. Yeah. It's good.
Yeah.
That's all I had. This is perfect. I expected this to be like, just like a fun, quick sort of podcast, but I really totally appreciate obviously our partnership. And it's been fun working with you all these years. And this was fun to get on and learn a little bit about your kind of day to day and also a little bit more about the Motley Fool. So I just totally appreciate it. And obviously looking forward to working with you this year.
Yes, thanks so much on it. Again, it's been great to work with you
Yeah.
and build a relationship over the past few years. Rotary has been a really great partner for us.
Yeah, great. So glad to hear that. Yeah, and looking forward to have a good year, right? All right. So stay warm and thanks for getting on the show.
Thanks so much, Sean.
Hey, thanks for watching the show. Special shout out to Elijah who helped me put it together. I hope you liked it. If you have any comments or questions, I'd love to hear from you. You can leave a comment in the section below or you can reach out to me directly. And I hope you'll make it to the next one.